Should you date or marry a virgin? Hi there, men's dating coach Harry Wilmington here, founder of IntrovertDatingSuccess.com, and today I'll be going over 5 pros and 5 cons of getting serious with a virgin and an unexpected consequence that could be good or bad depending on the situation. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon to be notified of new videos. Also, go to the website to watch my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps without using sleazy pickup lines. And now, let's check out that clip. So let's go into some of these pros. First, I'm going to go over the pros and then the cons. So here are some pros to consider if you are considering waiting until marriage to have sex, okay? The first pro is that you will only have had that other person's body as your experience. And some of you may look at this as like a bad thing, but I will say honestly, because I'm 38 now, I've definitely had my fair share of other partners. And I will say there is something to be said for the idea of like when somebody touches you or gets deep into you in an intimate way, that does stick with you. So there are girls that I dated like back in the early 2000s that if I saw them today, my body would be like, yep, let's hook up. So there is something to be said about the fact that if you're just with one person, most likely you won't have that feeling. That's not to say you won't ever find another woman like attractive, but it is something to be said for like, let's say you see an old friend that was a woman from back in your college days that you never hooked up with. You could see her and be like, oh, she's still cute, but you wouldn't have the same drive as like somebody you hooked up with from back in the day in college. And you see them and you're like, oh, they were cute and they were rocking in bed. Oh, crap. Ooh, I'm married now, but man, I wish I could have one more hit of that. And that is the feeling that I have had where I'm dating other girls and then like say like a girl I previously dated comes across my feed or like I, might go to homecoming and see them. It's just like, oh man, like there's that urge now. Like I wish I could, I can't, but I wish I could. Oh my God. So I think not having that feeling in your body would definitely be a positive thing if you're trying to stay on the straight and narrow and not be as tempted to see other people. Because if you're with this one person, there's no temptation to physically reconnect with the person you've hooked up with before. So that's a positive. Another pro is you get to discover together what your likes and dislikes are. You're not building upon things that you did with previous partners to try to now bring it to this particular situation. So that is another pro to consider. Another pro is the quality of the relationship statistically will be higher. And I actually got an article on this that I read from WebMD.com. There's a study that involved 2,035 married participants in an online assessment of marriage called Relate. According to the study, people who waited until marriage rated sexual quality 15% higher than people who had premarital sex, rated relationship stability as 22% higher, and rated satisfaction with their relationship 20% higher. So part of that is because, again, you're only being intimate with this one person. You're basically saying to this person, you are the choice that I am choosing for lifetime everything, lifetime partnership and lifetime sexual experience. And if you're able to do this right, then this is the kind of thing that can actually heighten your closeness together because you've only been intimate with this one person. You haven't split yourself among these other various people throughout the course of your life. And so, like I said, statistically, that's showing it. It's nothing I made up. This is statistical numbers that are showing that the odds of your relationship being of a higher quality overall are going to be significantly higher. I think part of that also is due to there's no jealousy issues in terms of like, if you hooked up with nobody, then your wife is most likely not going to be worried about or jealous of you possibly sneaking off with a girlfriend of yours who was a potential sex partner that you tried to turn into a friendship while she's thinking, but he might have, because there's no worry. You haven't done anything with anybody besides her, just my 2 cents on that part. Let's see. Pro number 4, you will have a higher bond ideally if you use the non-sexual time wisely. So if you are with somebody and you're both actively not having sex, it means now that the time that you would be having sex is time you could actually be getting to really do your due diligence and know the person. And this is something I tell you guys all the time, is that sometimes in the courses of trying to have sex with the person too soon, you end up missing out on these various things that could be good or could be red flags. And most guys, if the sex is really good early on, will start to will forgive. They will forgive the red flags. They'll see something that she does with other people at a restaurant, or she'll talk to him in some kind of way, and he'll be like, well, it's just what it is, it's okay. And they're not realizing that part of the reason they're doing that is because the sex is just so good that they don't want to give it up. And I've been there myself where it's like, I kind of don't really see me and this person working out, but oh God, the sex in the bed is just so bomb and I just don't want to give that up. So maybe I can try to make this work out. Maybe she'll change. Maybe she'll be one that like sees things from my perspective and just people are how they are. And it's really hard to change that. So if you're not having sex, then it's easier to really to do your due diligence, to find out the other person. And honestly, it makes it easier to break up with them when you find out, oh, you know what? They actually are not the right person for me. So, and that's a good thing because, the divorce rate in this country is high. And I think part of that is because we do get with partners that aren't right for us, but certain things keep us in the relationship, whether it's family, whether it's like we think we can't get anybody else, or whether it's because the sex is so good, we don't want to give it up. So something to consider. And of course, the fifth pro is very, very obvious. If you've never had sex and they've never had sex, then there's going to be no STDs and no unknown pregnancies prior to the relationship. Okay, it just is what it is. So now that's not to say you might be a person that, are doing other things that are close to having sex, but not full penetration. And those things can, in fact, cause STDs and various things. So that's something to be mindful of. But if you're just full on like nothing, no kind of nothing touching or anything like that, then you're less likely to catch any of these kind of things unless you get like shot up by a needle accidentally in the wrong way at a doctor's appointment, or, if you all saw Jane the Virgin, she got pregnant by accident at her clinic, which was hilarious in that scenario, but in real life is not likely to happen unless the woman artificially inseminates herself. So those are the pros. Let me go over the stream chat real quick here. Let's see. Day one, sex gets a lot out of the way quick. Oh man, we're about to get into some of the cons here, but yeah, something about you're supposed to have sex before marriage. Again, it's not one of those things that it's a have to or don't have to. It just really is you have to decide for yourself, and your partner has to also decide if that's the game plan you guys want to have. Because couples that are able to do that, like I said, you can make it work. I just know for me and the experiences that I've had, and we'll get into that in a minute, but some of the experiences that I've had with women in the course of the sexual realm of things has taught me that it is definitely better to at least once before you get married, do it with this other person, because a lifetime of bad sex is not something people like to sign up for, and we'll get into that in a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the cons, because there's not a lot of stuff to go through. So the first con of waiting until your marriage is that you won't know what to do on your wedding night. You're both coming to this as amateurs, and that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world, but it is a thing where like sex is one of those things that you get better at it as you go along, and so for that first time to be bad is never good. Especially if you're like a person that these days, a lot of people waiting until their 30s to have sex. So you've gone 30-something years without the muscle memory to have sex in a way that's going to be most pleasing to all parties. And now you're going to try to figure it out. And this can be something that is very, very frustrating because you're thinking you're going to just hop in and know what to do. And then you're not aware of other various things that could get in the way of that, which we'll get into right now. So con number 2 is that you may not be sexually compatible with the other person. And I mean this in a wide variety of ways, but particularly, like I said, with my situation earlier, the girl that I was with, she didn't want to do certain angles, certain positions. She didn't want to do certain things on me that I was doing to her. And it just could be a thing where like the girl, let's say you and the girl you marry, you're both virgins, okay? And then you start to try to do some stuff in the bed. You're trying to like, even you might be trying to go down on her. She might be like, oh no, I smell weird down there. And oh, I don't think this, blah, 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 blah. Or you try to kiss a certain part of her body. Oh, I don't know. I don't like that body. Oh my God, isn't that? Or you want to do her, doggy style position. Oh, I don't like the way this feels. It feels awkward. So you're going to end up trying to do things and realizing that, oh wait, she doesn't like this thing that I like. Or she's going to be like, he doesn't want to do this thing that I really need him to do. And you don't have any knowledge of that because you guys both waited until wedding night to try to figure that stuff out. So now you're going to both have an awkward sex life because even though you waited, you're realizing, oh, there's still things coming up that we actually don't match on in the sexual realm. And funny enough, I read an article that said divorce lawyers say that this is a major reason that many people's marriages end is because of bad sexual compatibility. People not liking what their partner's doing in bed or is not willing to do in bed. And how else would you know that, though, if you're both virgins? Like, people think that it's just like you just jump into bed and you just know it just automatically turns on and you know what to do. And if you're like me and studied, you kind of know a little bit, but there's still, even if you study it up, You don't know how that person's going to move. You don't know what that person's going to like. You don't know what angles that person's going to want to do. You don't know if that person's going to want to wear lingerie to bed, or if you're, polyamorous, bring another person to bed. Like, there's so many things you just don't know when you don't do. And you could try to be that guy that's like, okay, we're going to talk about what we like in sex before we get married, or the things that we're going to want to try. But suppose you have that conversation and she's like, yeah, I want to try doing this thing. And then you guys try it out and you really, really like it. And she's like, nah, it's not for me. Now that's off the table. So that could be something to consider, is that, you might not know if the person you're going to be with is going to be somebody that's actually sexually compatible with you long term. Con number 3, the woman you're with may be timid and not want to try certain things. And I point this out with women specifically because the advantage of being a guy is that, for better or for worse, people in this country assume that we are all about sex and that we just want to do any kind of sex and want to do everything. But women have a huge stigma on them in the sexual realm in general, but specifically as it pertains to how they're going to look and how society is going to judge them if they are a certain way or do certain things. So you might have a woman that's been taught, like, well, women shouldn't be subservient, they shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. So you're standing up thinking she's going to get down on her knees, for example, to do some stuff to you down there. And she's like, well, I can't do that position because I can't be on my knees because that's going to make me look some kind of way. Or I don't want to wear this certain thing because my body part's going to feel some kind of way and I'm going to look this way and I don't want to do that. So you might be a guy that's like, when I get sex, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to be bold as heck. And you might have a girl that's like, well, I'm like a quiet church mouse. Like, I don't want to, I feel certain and I don't want to be like, and whatever. And you didn't know that because you were both not doing anything before marriage. So there was no way to show that kind of timidness. But now you're in a bedroom situation where you want stuff to pop off and nothing's happening. And that's going to suck for you and suck for her, because now she's going to feel that she's going to either have to get pushed into that, or she's going to resent you for doing some stuff in the bed that she didn't want to happen. And that is definitely going to cause a rift in the amount of sex and how she feels about sex with you. Con number 4. Here's an interesting one, guy. You may hurt her if you don't fit in her in the right way. Okay? And this is for you guys out there that might be like in the, we'll say, 6.5 inch or higher club. Because as much talk as there is, and as much as we're made to believe that bigger is better, and that all women want these really big guys that are going to really like give it to them hard, most women's canals only go so deep. And they're only so wide. And so you could very well end up with a woman who's very petite all over, including down there. And you might be a bigger guy. And so you get there wedding night, you're, for one, if her hymen's still intact, you're trying to break through that, that's already going to be its own situation, but that over time will start to feel better. But your member itself, when trying to go into her, could legit hurt her to the point where it hurts so much that sex is not enjoyable with her. You're trying different angles, you're trying not to go in all the way, but she's just saying, oh, this hurts, or oh, this feels weird, or oh, you hurt me every time. And it would have been nice to have known that before you got married, but you didn't even get a chance to look at her stuff until wedding night. So now you got a situation where you guys genuinely love each other and you genuinely want to have sex with each other, and it's just killing her every time you do, to where she has to be like, you know what, babe, not tonight. You know what, let's just wait a week or so before we do it again. You know what, let's just try some lube and stuff, and it's still not working. Like, it's a horrible thing. And not every woman's built like that. Some women have long ass canals where you can be like 9 inches and jump in there and she'll be like, I don't feel anything. But you don't know that until you've actually been in a few rounds with her. So if you're avoiding doing that and you're waiting, then this is a thing that could potentially happen. So like I said, if nothing else, I would be at least like 1 round in the stack at least, just to make sure everything's gonna not only go well with your likes and dislikes, but also the mechanics of like being able to get in there are gonna actually function as well. And then con number 5 is just depression. It's just the thing where, like I said, if you're waiting a long time, the disadvantage would be after a while it goes from like it's actively your choice to you could legit start to feel like women really don't like you, or you'll never get sex, or maybe you're just not a desirable sexual candidate. And this is just for our ego, guys, because we know, like I said, because your testosterone is saying to you at almost all times, hey, go have sex. Hey, you need a release. Hey, find a woman. When you're not doing that, by default, you're going against the nature of what your body's telling you to do, and that can, in effect, make you feel depressed. Even if you're thinking this is your choice, your conscious could say, this is my choice. Your subconscious is like, I'm not getting what I want. Why isn't anybody giving me what I want? I feel bad about this. So those are the pros and cons. And then I wanted to add in a bonus one that can be a pro and a con depending on how you feel about the situation. Okay, and that's this: is that if you decide to wait, or if you are just waiting by default, you can have feelings of regret when you are trying to wait and then you do have sex. And you can also feel some kind of way when you do wait to have sex and you finally have sex and it's disappointing, okay? And so this is one of those things where it can be a pro and a con. Like I said, when I had sex for the first time, I didn't feel bad about it at all. But some guys do, like when they're waiting and then they finally have sex and they're like, man, like I was really trying to hold off and now I feel like I've just, cheated my future wife from that or whatever. But as I've said earlier, there are also guys who they wait until they have sex and then they get there that wedding night and it's disappointing and it's not what they thought it was going to be. And it was this big hyped up event that they're made for years to feel like it's going to be like the end all be all fairy tale ending to this non-sexual journey you're having, only to find out that it's not that at all, that it feels awkward, that there's going to be some things that they wish they had known, that they don't probably fit into the woman, or their woman doesn't want to have sex with them as much as they thought it was going to happen. And so either of these things can create feelings of regret and disappointment, or happiness if you were able to wait and you waited and the person you were with was the right person and you decide, yeah, this felt good after all. We waited. Congratulations. Woohoo. Like you can have that feeling waiting also. So these are the things that you need to decide if it's good for your emotional health or for your physical health to wait, if it's something that you're not going to feel bad about having the experience or you're going to feel guilty if you do have the experience. These are things that you really need to sit down and analyze with yourself because, it's going to be important to have that same conversation when you bring a woman into the equation, but it's going to still be your personal emotional journey as to whether or not that's going to affect you in the long term. And you can't let anybody else dictate that for you. So if you're a guy that wants to wait and you meet a woman who doesn't want to wait, then you got to decide if that's important enough to be like, you know what, this isn't going to work out. Like, I think you'd be the perfect woman, but I just know if you want to have sex right now, just for me emotionally and physically, this isn't something that I want to do yet, so I'm out. Or you could be a guy that doesn't want to wait till he's married, but are still a virgin, and you meet somebody else that's like, hey, I want to be a virgin. And now you're like, well, I kind of thought I was going to get some. So if you really do want to wait, then that's cool, but just either we're going to have to get married in the next 6 months, or we're going to have to part our ways because I'm actively looking for somebody to have sex with. Neither of those things are right. None of those things are wrong. They're just personal choices that you need to decide how those are going to be best for you, and it's going to be for the betterment of you, okay? So you've heard the various pros and cons here. You now know what to go with. Really figure that out for yourself and see what's best for you. And regardless of what choice you choose, it's the right choice for you, and you should be happy with it regardless, okay? Don't let the stigma of having premarital sex convince you into thinking that it's ultimately bad for you, okay? But don't let people that are having sex push you to want to do an act too early that you might not actually be ready for. Now that you've heard from me, I'd like to hear from you. What are other pros and cons to dating or marrying a virgin? If you're watching on YouTube, leave your comments below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. Are you ready to learn killer icebreakers that attract women on dating apps? Go to introvertdatingsuccess.com right now to watch my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps Without Using Sleazy Pickup Lines. This will give you key secrets to sparking attraction and conversations with women online the smart way. If you like this video, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and click the bell icon to be notified about future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.